So although skill development and speed development have been heavily studied and researched, there's still some nuance that exists in this area. And in order for us to get the most benefit out of the training that we're putting in, out of the work that we're doing, one thing that is crucial is that we time when we work on speed within our session to be most effective. Hi, I'm Dr. J, and welcome to 5 Minute Fridays. I have a background of a master's in human performance and applied sports science and a doctorate in sport and performance psychology. This week's 5 Minute Friday is going to cover when is the best time to train speed. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more 5 Minute Fridays with your Dr. J. So in learning how to better approach speed and speed development, we start with a warm-up, right? Every training session starts with some sort of warm-up. And our intent with our warm-up is that we're building ourselves to be prepared for the activities that we've got following, right? As we build into drills, if we're moving fast on that day, we want to build drills into our warm-up that are going to build us from slower to faster as we get our heart rate up and as we build ourselves in that we're getting our blood flowing and getting ourselves prepared for the activity. And part of preparing for the activities is going to be practicing pieces of those skills, right? And so some of the warm-up drills are meant to mimic those things, right? And so we're preparing ourselves mentally, we're preparing ourselves physically, and we're getting our body ready entirely for the activities and the exercises that we're about to perform. In order for us to effectively reinforce the speed skills that we're working on and the speed development that we aim for, we need to work in a high quality manner, right? And in order to get fast, we need to move fast. So we need to be as fresh as possible, right? We need to be as fresh as we can from a nervous system standpoint, and we need to be as fresh as we can from a muscular standpoint so that we're able to put a lot of high intensity and high effort into these activities when we're working. So that means that we need to do a very good warm-up that will lead into us being ready for these things. Part that's crucial about us keeping it at the end of the warm-up and early in the session is going to be that if we don't have a fresh nervous system and we don't have a fresh muscular system, we're just training work capacity. And work capacity is a good thing to have when we're looking at the game as an entirety, we're looking at your competition as an entirety. But if we're aiming to seek specific and clear improvements in the areas of speed, we need to be able to move fast and we need to be able to monitor when it's time to shut that session down, right? And each person might vary a little bit on how much speed, true speed training that they can handle before it becomes work capacity, right? And so if we're losing seconds off of our speed, if we're losing technical ability, whether that's our running mechanics as we're working, if we're losing that, it's going to be time to shut that session down. We might not always get to pick when that happens, but if the body starts to shut down on that nervous system end, on the muscular end, we need to respect that and we need to move on to something else, or it might be time to shut that session down so the body can recover and we can come back tomorrow and be able to work just as hard, if not harder than today, as we build on the things that we worked on today, right? The part that's really important to that is if we're not moving at that high speed, we're not training our body to move at high speed. And there comes a time in our training session where you're not going to be able to move at as high of a speed and as high of an intensity as you need to build that speed development. And that's okay, but it's going to build into our other skills as we're able to do this, right? Because our nervous system is getting more coordinated. And it takes us back to that plyometric podcast where we spoke about how it's important for our mind and body to be connected and how much of a difference it makes when our nervous system is really innervated into our muscles and we're able to use it in a responsive manner to react during games and live situations and really build forward for these things. So then one of my cautions to you is going to be that if you do have sprints at the end of your session, don't assume that these sprints that you're going to do after you've done a lot of skill development work, a lot of drilling, and a lot of gameplay are going to be leading towards speed gain. But here's the beauty of it. The sprints are not wasted, but they lead to work capacity gains. And so that means that we're building our endurance and we're building our endurance in a special endurance capacity, right? So that will be that intermediate. So it's not true speed, but we're teaching our body how to handle these stresses of these types of movement. But it is not for speed development. One more time, sprints at the end of practice are not for speed development. So then as you start to separate just the capacity sprints from your speed developing sprints, know that it's okay that the session ends when your nervous system is exhausted. Even though your nervous system is exhausted, we might not feel overall fatigue, and that's okay. And speed development looks completely different than any of the other types of training that we're going to do. That's because it is nervous system dependent, and we're seeking trying to change our body's reaction to these stressors. We're trying to elicit a stronger response from our body when it's time to move as fast as possible. And so we need all the recruitment that we can, and the body will have those very telling signs of mechanics changing or the time it takes to complete that activity changing drastically once you're starting to get fatigued. So some of the things that we want to watch out for as we're trying to measure to see where we're at within our session, whether we're fatigued out or we've still got time to work, we want to see how long is it taking us to complete that activity. And then also we want to look at how are we moving throughout that drill. Are we able to maintain our form? Are we able to hold good posture that's appropriate for that sport movement as we work on speed? A few takeaways that we want to look at as we're thinking about speed development and how we implement that in our sessions and our trainings is going to be the training age of the athlete makes a difference in how much speed development type training they can handle. Our state of preparedness is a very influential piece of that picture, whether we're in season, out of season, mid-season, or coming off of post-season. All of those factors matter when we look at how we can build these training sessions. And then our rest interval modification. So how much time are you able to rest will change how effective you are in each of these sprint intervals, right? And so if we're resting shorter, it's going to cause us to not probably be able to do as many repeats, right? But as we get more advanced and we're able to build into this training, you're going to be able to handle more with lesser rest, and you're going to start to see how that starts to change how you're able to structure these sessions. Just a reminder of when is it time to end a speed development session is going to be when there's a very visible change in the time that's required to complete that sprint bout, right? And then also when your mechanics visibly change and you're unable to maintain that form. Once again, it is not when your body is tired. It's going to be when you're showing these signs, right? And that's very important to pay attention to as you build that coaching eye and you create that understanding for what your aims are within each training session. Please join us again in 2 weeks as we cover our next sport and performance psychology theme. Once again, I'm Dr. J, and as always, be refined by the grind.